I'm honestly surprised they don't have contests out for the Friday game yet.
It is surprising, isn't it? Speaking of contests being out, though, we are live. We are out. We are out to the people. We are coming at you on a Saturday. It's a bit of a condensed show. It's a bit of a different show. We thought maybe we were going to get a different audience, appeal to a different crowd, kind of transition to our Saturday night show for our lineups in a couple weeks, anyways. And then I forgot that most people are doing their last minute best ball drafts. So it's just funny that most of the time this is a gap in time where you don't see as many live streams and as much as live content. So I'm like, oh, this would be good. And then just so happens this is the last weekend of best ball. But speaking of drafts, Evan, you did a kind of guest appearance, and I was very proud of it, by the way. You represented our show very well.
Thank you.
You had a best ball. The guy does bring on like a ton of people to do best ball, some different portions and industry levels, and then you basically, what I liked about it was you do a live draft right during the draft, but then you almost recap it live as well after the draft, and that's the part I found most fascinating. So I really like that element, and I thought you represented the show very well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this is a 10-team PPR. This is about as plain and vanilla as you can get for a redraft mock that you can get, which was the last mock draft at Club Fantasy FFL. Shout out to you guys if you're listening. That was their Friday night show that I was their guest, as you already said, Logan. And I decided to pick from the 5th spot here out of 10, thinking that a lot of people hate drafting in the middle because you don't have a quicker turnaround compared to the ends over here. So I was hoping that would be more helpful. I mean, for whatever that means to people, for if they get stuck in the middle here and see what they can do from there.
I know why people like that. It's just easier when you're on one of the ends to set up something for yourself and then get your guy on the way around. You only got to wait a few dudes, and you basically can look at their team and be like, they're not going to take this guy, right? So I can just leave him here, take him, and yay, I got my dude, and everyone's happy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I could tell this was a totally different crowd that I was mocking this with too, because so many running backs went early, which you just don't see in a lot of leagues anymore. This is the
McCaffrey to 3 is going to kill me.
And what I loved about this too is that it's a perfect representative of what a home redraft league feels like, because the draft never ever goes the way you anticipate it. So this is perfect to demonstrate to people.
That's also why I wanted to bring it up, because we often talk about like, oh, well, we don't want to get stuck in our DFS bubble, or there's lots of ways to build a lineup, guys. And sometimes, I'm sure if you've watched our content, you kind of understand that I have a way to build, Evan has a way, Govin has a theory. And what happens is, even if we feel like we're being different week to week, we're not always that different, or we don't even test ourselves enough. When I saw this draft, and I realized, and I meant it the way I said it, that it was a boomer draft. There are people out there that they want to draft the same way. They believe in their theory so strongly that they're going to keep drafting that way. That's how they see football. That's how they enjoy football. My friend, for example, loves college football because he loves the running game. So he will always value kind of that old school mentality over like the new age football. We talked about his kickoff rule problems, a couple weeks ago. And so, but I still don't see a world where Christian McCaffrey isn't in the top 1 or 2.
Yeah, this is the only draft I think I will ever see, like to drive Gov insane to see CMC go at number 3.
I will say, we were being a bit funny and we were having a bit of a laugh. I was taking a bit of the piss out of them, calling them boomers or what have you. But they did defend their points very well. And then he did ask, like, well, is there a chance, where you would take anyone else outside of CMC? And I think you mentioned, and I was in the comments as well, and we mentioned CeeDee Lamb. But the fact that Christian McCaffrey, and we'll bring in Donnie here, he's seeing this like live reaction. The fact that Christian McCaffrey didn't go in the first 2, it's wrong to me. To me, now, like, you can make the case, but to me, I don't want to hear the case.
there's no case for Christian McCaffrey not being at least the second running back off the board. There's no reason he's the third off the board.
Right.
I mean, hell, there would be no reason why Christian McCaffrey isn't the first receiver off the board. It's silly to me. That's
it's hard to get past that in the first round. But like, if you get past that, oh God, you got a McCaffrey Henry team. Oh.
And London in the third round? Are you really kidding? No, the third team really is perfect. Good. The third team is a monster.
Yeah, London, Metcalf, Kirk,
Hollywood,
Deontay, Hollywood.
Okay, because I don't know if you know this, if you can tell it, Donnie, but Evan drafted 5th in this draft. But that's what I love about this draft. You guys were drafting in real time, but I love how the host, maybe he does this in all of his shows. I was just watching Evan. Evan was the superstar. I was coming for Evan. But I love how you guys almost went back and dissect all the teams live. Like, we've dissected teams where you'll see, like, recap shows, and they're like, well, guys, I wanted to believe this in DFS, but it just didn't happen. You did it in real time, and people gave their actual reasons for, why they did certain things. So I did find the case for Christian McCaffrey at 3 interesting. Obviously, it was a very boomer take. It was, I like running backs. I'm never going to take wide receiver. That was never, but at least he defended it. Like, you will see so many DFS lineups where people will just do things to be so different that it makes no sense. Like, so contrarian.
And I did talk about the importance of running back in addition to this being a wide receiver heavy game today, where it reflects upon fantasy. And like, I would never advocate for running backs going 1, 2, 3 like this. But I mean, if you want to punt at wide receiver for additional, I mean, if there's like, this only had 2 wide receiver slots in this theoretical draft, but if you had 3, I could see a case for that. But with how many running backs went early, and by the 4th and 6th rounds, I was like, oh shit, I think I better grab another running back, even though they weren't necessarily falling my way because they all went so early.
I will say this. I mean, McCaffrey 3 is going to be a good team anyway. But for somebody, for a while, London was a first rounder. Henry was a high to middle second. In McCaffrey's first overall pick most drafts, that's a hell of a start for a draft. I mean, he's got to just be giddy about that.
Yeah.
And he finished it out strong.
Yeah, well, and this draft is the latest I've ever selected a running back as well, which I'm kind of surprised with the Kamara-Jones combo. In theory, that's not too bad. What do you guys think?
No, I like it. That's a solid 1-2. Like, that should get the work barring injury for the year. Like, even if Kamara were to get traded or something, he's getting traded somewhere where the only way it doesn't work out is if somehow Kamara gets traded to Minnesota and then completely eats out Aaron Jones. No pun intended.
You got great value McCaffrey, and you have an Aaron Jones whose volume should be high. Eckler probably will take that starting job back.
Your real key is Chubb will have the starting job once he's healthy.
And I think Eckler will take that starting job.
I do want you guys
if he has anything left, he's better than Brian Robinson. I'll give you that.
The things I'm hearing about him still, I know the Commanders are going to talk highly about him with him on the team, but it's good things.
Well, he's a great vet, if nothing else.
Yeah, I will say that you guys should go back and listen to that podcast. Evan, presented his case very well for a lot of things. You did have one auto draft on Jordan Love. I swear, I always get phone calls during the show. It's never fail. But
do not disturb mode. That's your key.
Well, I would do that, but there's other reasons. I don't like to conform. I don't know if you figured that out or not. I like to be different. But I will say, I will say what was interesting was everyone was shocked at your Nick Chubb selection. And I knew right away because I had posted, I think, a few minutes before they'd actually asked you that question about Chubb just being your seal. And I just thought it was so unique that all these running back heavy teams didn't like Nick Chubb. They were almost surprised, Evan. And I'm like, maybe, because I know we drafted him a lot in best ball too, and people saw those live. And that's where, like, whether we're right or wrong, I don't care. There's some really cool things because we can go back and look at why we did certain things. So you can take the piss out of us if you want and say, like, oh, you made a mistake there. You shouldn't have taken him. You were so, whatever. But at least you know why we did certain things. And so I just couldn't believe that they were almost shocked that you took Nick Chubb there.
My thing is, if you're drafting Chubb as a guy who's going to be your running back, thinking he's going to be that guy for you still, it's a mistake. If you're drafting him as your fourth guy and you think he has the potential to be a home run hitter still, that's an awesome pick. You just have to know what you're drafting him for.
That's a brilliant point. And I do think, now, humble brag maybe, Evan, I do think introducing you to DFS and salaries and kind of tier structure building and just like might have helped you in that regard, because you're like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you basically said that exact point. You're like, I wasn't drafting him to be my superstar running back, because they pushed back and said, well, Chubb's going to be gone for the next 4 weeks. Are you worried about that? And I thought you handled that question very well.
I'm not reading too much into it because this is only a mock draft, first of all. But I wouldn't say that learning how to build lineups at DFS had enough correlation with a redraft mock draft like this. But to my surprise, too, that nobody selected Chubb early enough for the sake of the mock draft, where my point was if you get him or you get Jonathan Brooks for the Carolina Panthers, what you do is then you immediately after the draft stick him in an IR slot and then go get another running back in the meantime.
Which is a perfect. I was so glad you mentioned that as well, because that's just a perfect way of knowing the contest you're playing in, or the structure, or the rule set you're playing in, and that translates, funny enough, to DFS too. It's like you will build differently in a cash game than you would a tournament. You'll build differently if me, you, and Garver are playing in a 3-man contest than if we're playing in a big tournament. Even tournament to tournament, you build differently than you would a single entry than a milli maker. So you have to know that kind of stuff. Because I know leagues, for example, where IR is not available and you might draft differently. And I've also seen it where people will wait super long on quarterback, for example, and then they'll take like Drake May or Daniels. But it's like if May sits for 3 weeks, even though I think it's incorrect, he should be starting, I think, on talent. It doesn't matter what I think. It's what they're doing. And if you're taking that high upside, you got to have some safety somewhere in your lineup. You do in this Nick Chubb selection. You don't need him to start in the first 4 weeks. If he does, obviously he can't. But like if he did, or there was that potential, that's good. But you're not drafting for that outcome, so you're not worried about it.
I'd also like to say, for the record, that the Jordan Love pick was an accidental auto draft because I learned how hard it is to have a conversation and draft.
Production is hard, man.
Love is a good 12th rounder. Like that's solid.
Yeah, well, because I already had Prescott in a theoretical league like this, I'd probably drop Love and go get somebody else on the waiver wire that I could use, like another tight end or something like that. I wouldn't need another quarterback because Prescott's bye week, I think, it's week 7. So I'd have time to not have to worry about it.
Well, even if he ends up on the waiver, he might just sit in the waiver. The guy who drafted Goff might have wanted to get a guy like Love, but then he's like, I got Goff.
And I believe Goff has, I think the Lions have an early bye week this year. Yeah, week 5. So got about a month to figure that out. But so, unless you guys had anything else, we could start looking at DFS lineups for week 1 or the Thursday showdown.
We can look at Thursday if you want. I had the main slate pulled up here. Just to say what I think people make the mistake at doing so far in early looks is being like, well, I want to play this guy or I want to play this guy. They focus more on the guy they're playing than the reason or the structure and they're playing him. So then people will be like, well, I want to fit Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb, but they don't realize like there are ways to do anything you want as long as it makes sense in the lineup. And the problem is, a lot of these first looks is they will be like, oh, I want to play, I'll just use this example because he's not on the slate. Let's say you wanted to play Christian McCaffrey and St. Brown in the same lineup. There's ways to do it. It might not be the best, but like play that out. Play exactly. And we did that last week. Did you guys want to look at Thursday though? I can do that as well. I had the main slate pulled up.
I would assume.
I don't mind talking through the main slate because like Tuesday when we come back review, we can build our first lineup then and build a Thursday lineup there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully by then they'll have Friday contests up. Maybe we can look at a Friday lineup too.
All right.
One of the things I've always really liked, I've really got into this strategy and this kind of mindset, Gov, and I think you as well, is trying to build a lineup that everyone's building or everyone thinks is good, and then deconstructing it to find out where the ownership and the popular plays are almost swaying us in the wrong direction. So, do any of you have any idea who you think will be not who you want or who you think it should be? Who do you think will be the highest owned quarterback in week 1? Like, who do you think everyone's going to fall in love with?
Josh Allen.
You think it'll be Allen?
I think it's going to be Tua.
Because they want to stack?
Because I think that Jacksonville-Miami game is probably going to look really good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Jacksonville-Miami game. So it's going
to
be everyone's.
I could also see it being someone like Kyler or A-Rich.
Okay, let's go.
Just because like they're all in that sort of like 6K range where it looks like you either pay up for Allen or Tua, and Tua's $1,000 cheaper than Allen.
Yeah.
Or you just sit in that 6K range.
But that's still relevant.
As much as a Sam Darnold looks enticing, a Jaden Daniels looks enticing, and they may end up pulling ownership, I still think it's going to come down to like everything we've always seen. So like, what's the highest total games? Well, the highest total games are the Josh Allen Buffalo Bills.
Right.
It's the Jacksonville Miami game. It's Indy and Houston. So that's probably where your ownership is.
And it's okay to say Allen. This is just an idea because like what I really got into is the theory that you could take the most popular lineup build and you can make it different enough to actually have a good lineup and be so different that you actually propel yourself up the leaderboard, which is the point. It's to take the good plays, which oftentimes the popular plays are, but how do you play them different so that way you actually win tournaments? Who do you think is going to be that? This is where people will get cheap, right? They'll play like Dobbins, and they'll play like one good running back, like maybe it's Bijan Robinson or someone like that, and then they'll play. And we have a comment here. He thinks it's going to be Richardson. Like maybe it is Richardson, but like I think a lot of people then would play Richardson a lot of times naked. They'll play him with no stacks. Where I would lean Tua here because I do think a lot of people want to play Hill.
You can still stack Richardson with Pittman. Like he's going to be hitting Pittman all day.
Pittman's a good stack partner with him.
That being said, it's like kind of easy to not. Like I just was sitting here and I built this like off to the side, and it's like this just seems to fit well with what I look
sometimes
at.
It does.
And that's just a naked Richardson. I get my Tyreek and my Miami. I get my Arizona and my Buffalo.
You get a
I get what I think is going to be like the value running back of the week is looking like, and what looks like maybe the value wide receiver. Like the number 2 for Arizona is 4,300.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be looks like Michael Wilson because let's see.
Love me some Michael Wilson.
I mean, technically, the number 2 wide receiver, number 3 target because you have McBride and Harrison.
Right, exactly.
I was going to bring
but like Zay Jones is out, so unless you count Greg Dortch,
which some people do.
Yeah, Dortch will get his targets, but I'd be surprised if it was more than Michael Wilson.
Yeah. So, like, I can get a nice little like bring back stack from James Cook there. And then I like the Patriots, honestly, as a value defense right now, just because Cincinnati throws. They have to throw because they don't have any running backs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and the Patriots have a good secondary.
I'm fine with a disciplined defense playing a team that throws a bunch. There's bound to be
the Patriots will be
crazy.
run heavy, the game probably isn't high scoring if the Patriots don't just absolutely bluff.
Yeah. Like if it's a high scoring game, it's 35-7 in favor of Cincinnati.
Yeah. And if you're playing Patriots defense, you're probably just playing 28-14 and hoping you get a pick or two.
And as in DFS, I'm playing a cheap defense that has some upside.
Who is that cheap defense?
New England.
New England.
I think week 1 it's New England because since like I said, I just like all the reasons I just laid out. Like New England is cheap too. Like I think they're like
they are cheap.
They're 20.
They're like they're one of like the bottom 5 defenses in.
Could I make a case for the Broncos against the Seahawks? The Seahawks are kind of iffy to me.
The Seahawks.
See, I was looking at all 5. I was looking at all 5 of those, and like all of them look a little like I don't know what the Commanders are supposed to do this year.
I honestly don't even mind the Cardinals.
I don't know what the Broncos are going to be. They should be better. Like I think the Broncos are the one that were underachieving last year, so I could see you going with them on that. But like also look at the pricing. It's like, what's the difference between $2,500 and $2,600? If you really need that $100, sure, go to the Broncos.
I don't think, I think wouldn't say it's crazy to think that the Cardinals have a shot to. Allen's always been a little turnover prone. It's not insane to think the Cardinals can force a turnover or two.
Logan, are you just going to complete the lineup, or do we want to just do this together?
Dobbins will not be a play, Logan. I guarantee you Dobbins will be less than 10%.
I was just putting in guys I thought.
How much is Gus again? I gotta look. Hold on.
Gus is 54, I think.
It doesn't matter if it's Gus or Dobbins to me, but I think one of the Chargers running backs will be played.
53. Okay, yeah.
Gus is a touchdown upside there, and we saw him have a.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying though. To me, this is not what I would do. This is like what I would consider the populist lineup doing, and I just think they're going to play some Chargers. So we can put Gus Edwards in this lineup if you think, because that's what I want to do. I want to build it out and then kind of deconstruct it.
I mean, I would still spend a little more to put Aaron Jones in against the horrible Giants.
You think it would be?
What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm definitely not doing Dobbins, but like. My cheap guy is Jerome Ford right now, but like I could see Gus. Like I get the Gus play, but like Dobbins, I think I'd go Ford, or I'd go all in on saying Javonte is going to be the man this year.
But again, it's not who we actually want to play; it's who we think that the public is going to play.
I think that Dallas-Cleveland game might especially where like they just re-signed Deontay Foreman, so it's like. They don't like Deontay Foreman. They just need a guy behind Ford. They'll give Ford all the work when he can. And, like, we saw him get some, like, heavy target games last year. So, like, I believe Ford will be the guy just because they'll trust him more than Gus and Dobbins in a backfield together.
I always like to go cheap at tight end. But so I'll ask you guys, what do you think the public's going to do?
Well, hold on a second, though. Are we okay with Bijan and Ford, this combo, or?
Ford is fine. I don't see.
I'm fine with Ford.
Bijan.
I'm not big on Bijan this week.
We can say it's Taylor. I'm just saying it's going to be an expensive running back, right?
I mean, expensive, yes, but like it doesn't have to be like expensive. Like anything in that 7, like.
Why would it Why would it not be Etienne in a high-scoring Miami game?
I think that's a good play for us. I think we could make cases for it. I don't think a lot of people are going to click it though. That's the point of this.
But if
the guy they're going to click is A-Chain.
A-Chain, you think so?
Do you think it's going to be
like
A-Chain
same game? Same game. He's cheaper. He had the giant games last year when he played.
It would correlate to with it.
Offense like. He's probably going to be like a Tua, A-Chain, Tyreek. Like that's a triple stack at the entire.
Well, then
Miami
you need
offense.
a Jag. Then the Jags Evan Ingram, right?
Like you're going to have to with how much salary you're spending, you're going to need a bunch of Jags. But like I get what you mean.
See, that's the thing though, Donnie.
Not that Jag, the other Jag, the team.
Yeah. But you bring up a good point, though. Like, are people going to want to play Dolphins so much that they lock themselves into playing, Jags
Probably.
that don't actually.
I mean, you can think that this is like the Denver game last year and they just come out and put up like 50, 60, 70 plus, and the Jags only have like 15 points.
I hope this is how most people build, to be honest, because I don't like this build at all. But how would you finish it out then? So that way we can tear it apart.
Can we even afford Evan Ingram?
He's an expensive tight end. I'd probably just go with Brian Thomas.
It probably will be Thomas.
Oh, yeah, Brian Thomas. That makes sense.
He's a rookie. Everyone likes rookies.
Yeah, go with the Jag of the Jags.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say he's a wide receiver, but yeah.
I always type it out. At least Donnie didn't correct me this time. He just knows it's not going to change. I do need to get a new mouse pad, though.
Dueling wide receivers. I don't mind it.
See, I hate this one.
It's basically a full game stack. You got all of Miami with Brian Thomas on the other side.
But you really think this is how people are going to build so far?
Pretty close. I mean, it's just high ownership. I
haven't quite figured out who the cheap tight end is going to be.
It's going to depend still.
I know who I like.
It might be.
We're not playing the Commanders' backup tight end in a popular play.
See, that's the problem is, I know what I would like, but that's the total opposite of the popular lineup, which is why this is helpful for me.
Yeah, because we don't think people are going to spend 25 at the tight end. They're probably going to want to pay up at tight end, right?
Not with this lineup.
I think most people know to
pay down.
Don't have to pay up at tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is our tight end salaries looking like, Logan? Because let's give us an idea there.
So most people
we have 49. We have 49 left. We really need to use the tight end to give us some salary range.
Most people will play like a 3,200 tight end. 3,100.
Yeah, that's why I was looking like in the low 4s to high 3 lane range. I think that's going to be the sweet spot.
Is it a Chig in a Chicago game?
Yeah, it's probably Cole Kmet maybe.
Or Cole Kmet, yeah. I was thinking that game is a decent environment.
Zach Ertz, maybe?
No, Ertz isn't in a good game environment. That's the issue with that one.
No, that's true, but name recognition.
Yeah, there is a name recognition.
Hits at 46.
You gotta remember, most popular also means most casual in some ways, too. Like, this is a very casual lineup.
Chig is kind of becoming a
then they might go with Jonu, to be honest.
Yeah, because he's cheap.
But that's a total stack.
That's a total.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's where it's like everyone's like, this Miami game's going crazy. They went for 70 last year. They're gonna come out and be wow.
I got it. Oh, we can't do that. I was gonna think it might be Ferguson because then people might think, oh, let me just get the other end of that Dallas game. But that's probably too smart for most people. I don't know who the popular guy is.
I think it'd be Chig. It's just a good game environment against Chicago. And then you can play a Rome with it.
People do like Chig.
Like, do you just throw like a Rome with it, maybe? Is that...
Now you got 54 piece. So, you still could spend up a little and go with a cheaper guy. So, who's the last wide receiver?
It's just that with Okonkwo, there's not much upside for a tight end like him because they just paid up for DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, and now they have Tyler Boyd as their third guy. I don't see Okonkwo even being a red zone threat for the Tennessee offense.
No, I get that. It's the name is probably what people would go with. It's like, oh, I know this guy. It's Okongwo. It's Wakwakwe.
I
they will mispronounce it in every horrible way.
I really think that it might just be somebody who wants to say, oh, Romo Dunze is a sexy name. Yeah, I mean, if they already know enough about rookies and you need another expensive receiver.
See, I think it's Luke McCaffrey. I think everyone's gonna react to that.
No,
I doubt it.
No? I love it because I'm playing a lot of them. I hope that's the case. I'm like the opposite of this lineup. I'm telling you, that's why I find it most interesting.
I could see them people staying in the high 4,900, low 5,000 range for name recognition alone, like even an Adam Thielen, for example, because they know he's 5,200 but they don't realize that he's kind of losing his prime. But I think they'd play him because he's cheap.
I don't even know who I can look at right now because I don't.
What range do you want?
I around this range, I guess. Where it? See, I cannot believe how cheap some guys are.
Like, I can't see like casuals going below like
Gabe Davis,
4,900.
a home run hitter, casual home run, but that's still the same game.
Yeah.
But Gabe Davis is actually cheaper than Brian Thomas. So what if it's Gabe instead of Thomas?
Do we want to swap those out?
Yeah, I could do that and get an extra couple hundred here.
Like could work.
Like people would know Gabe Davis.
People know Gabe Davis because he played with Buffalo.
Yeah.
I get that. Makes sense. See, do people play like a Mooney because they know that the Falcons are? I don't know if people would do that. I think Wilson makes sense. To Gus' point earlier, what most people will do.
I mean, if we're trying to build a lineup that we think the casuals are going to do, it may not always make sense.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want this lineup to make. Like, I want the most popular plays here.
Okay, so we've got 11,000 remaining between a wide receiver. So yeah, we could pay up a bit for this wide receiver or I don't know. I mean, I just don't see a lot of people going below 4,900.
Is it Shakir?
I don't think it's Shakir. I think we're looking at like Tank Dell territory.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's see. You put Tank Dell. Then what do you see? Because I'm assuming you're probably not that you're not focused on stacking particularly.
Not necessarily, but then Ingram is 5,500 if we want to just fill out the flex with him.
Right. So let's just say this would be the lineup. Well, people don't like the double tight end, so.
Do they?
Yeah, but it does show up optimally more than people think.
Does it?
Especially when you have a stud tight end. When you have tight ends that are wide receivers, and Ingram last year was the number 2 target for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Let's just assume that would be a popular lineup, right? That's a highest projected ownership lineup. People are like, well, I know these guys are going to score points. What's some of the first things that you guys think are mistakes or that you want to do? How do you play some of these main guys but play them differently enough where it's actually a good lineup? Because I hate this lineup.
I don't even hate this.
This is honestly kind of a different lineup already. This is a bunch of good plays, or people are going to love that Miami Jacksonville game and they're going to tout all the guys from it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's going to boost everyone.
Not enough people do overstacks when they should, but
yeah, he's right. Someone's going to play a cheap running back in week 1.
Yeah,
somebody will.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry. People are going to play somebody of the cheap running back range.
Oh yeah, there's always going to be a cheap running back that just gets.
What does Singletary
get
cost?
The volume in
just
that.
out of curiosity.
He's pretty cheap. I'll have to look.
Let's see.
57.
Singletary's 57. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too high for me.
I mean, that's not terrible.
I would rather play Zamir White. I'd rather play Ford. I'd rather play Dobbins. I'd rather play Gus Bus.
I'd rather play Zeke.
Is it weird that I find Najee to be cheap? Is it peculiar that I find it weird that Najee is cheaper than Singletary?
No one knows what the Steelers' offense is going to be.
It is, especially with Warren being banged up. No one knows. So I think these prices, to your point, Evan, came out when they thought both of them would be healthy. If one of them is not going to play, the other one becomes an interesting value.
Yeah, agreed.
If you think that that's the running back that Arthur Smith wants.
If the other guy's hurt, it won't really matter.
If one of them
it quite literally will with Arthur Smith. That's the thing.
I don't know if I can co-sign that one down.
Tyler Algier got playtime over Bijan Robinson extensively.
Okay, but there was never a point in time where Tyler Algier was hurt and couldn't play.
There was never a point in time when Bijan Robinson couldn't really play either.
So going
consistently better.
Going off of a Tua and Tyreek stack, the optimizer that I'm using agrees with Ford, but then also wants to get Alvin Kamara in there as a hero running back, and then go Drake London, Christian Kirk, and Javon Polk.
I could see Polk being a
Jalen Polk, sorry.
play.
That
But
makes sense. So
And
they're
then
that
playing-
was another guy that came to my mind, but I don't know.
Yeah, and then the cheap tight end would be Kylan Granson.
The thing is, where it's a Patriots offense, I don't think it will be super high owned.
that makes sense. They'll play Kirk and not Ingram. Get off of it there. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's what my optimizer recommends, and then going with the Bengals defense.
So that's what they would do, though. But what would be a more fun? Maybe this is the lineup that Gov likes, but what would be the more fun way to build a smarter version of the Tyreek Hill Tua lineup? Because those guys are not bad plays, but how do you build it so you like it, but it's also different enough that you could win a tournament with it?
Gotta get out of A-Chain, in my opinion.
I agree.
Get off Dell.
I would not be surprised to see Kamara to be low owned.
Dell and A-Chain are the first guys that I just need out.
Yeah, let's get A-Chan out. Let's also get Ingram out. Oh, wait, he is out. Sorry.
Ingram is out, yeah.
Kirk,
I actually like better as a bring back than.
Yeah, let's leave in Kirk.
Ingram.
Okonkwo,
I can't really see leaving in there. I think we could go cheaper.
See, I would leave in Gabe Davis and take Kirk because I want that extra 1,000 and change.
I don't think
take Gabe Davis and Chick out, honestly. I don't need any. I mean, I'm not a fan of this lineup, really.
Let's get those two out.
Okay, let's see. I just opened up my optimizer with the early projections.
We could have left Kirk in there.
You wanted Kirk in there, didn't you?
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's wide receiver or flex. I mean, not really.
No.
Not for this exercise.
Yeah.
It will.
Can I interest either of you in Rachaad White?
Rachaad White, second most carries, 15th most yards. No, I hate Rachaad White. He's not efficient.
At 6,300, no. But if he was below 6,000, yes.
I do like Zamir White.
No, I don't.
If Rachaad White has any competition at all in the backfield this year, he will lose a lot of playing time.
But I'm saying, wouldn't we just take out Kirk and play Travis Etienne as high as we've been on Etienne?
Not at that price, no. I'd rather spend
not
that
this
money
week.
running. Yeah.
So you think he's too high, Donnie?
I think he's too high for a game that I think they're going to be pushed to score.
That's kind of where I was too. Like looking at it first look, I'm like, man, I want to play Travis Etienne, but I'm glad that we have a lot of him in best ball because I think the Kirk is too high.
I don't see him as the third best running back on this slate.
I will give it to Logan. Looking at my early projections, like I'm getting Ken Walker, Rachaad White, Bijan leading the list with Jerome Ford and Chase Brown as the back end owned running backs.
Yeah, and I think Bijan's just a significantly better play than A-Chain.
I was going to bring up my two favorite running backs that you guys might agree with, which is Stevenson and Walker. I think Walker, especially if we know Zach Charbonnet is out, Walker is a good play.
Walker's a good play. I'm
okay with Ken Walker, to be honest.
Okay, so let's plug in Walker.
Walker Ford is probably going to be a common.
Yeah, Walker Ford makes sense to me.
So I can't sell anybody on Kamara.
I'm with you on Kamara, but that is going to be more of a GPP play. Like no one's playing him.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We're trying to build the lineup that everyone's going to try to build. Then, everyone's going to have like some form of Ford Walker, Ford Rashad, Rashad Walker.
We're trying to take the
maybe a Bijan, maybe a Chase Brown.
Yeah, take the popular plays and play them smarter. I do think this is a lot better lineup than what we built before. How else would you finish it, though?
Let's see. I'm getting a lot of Nico, so I kind of like the idea of
there has to be some Houston in it. If we're building a popular lineup.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of Nico. I'm getting some Tank.
And
no Diggs?
Maybe we just play Diggs?
If Diggs is the third highest owned Texans receiver, I love Diggs.
Let Evan break this one. Evan, what are you more on, Collins or Diggs?
So we're trying to build a lineup that we think is going to be popular, right?
Right. So we know a Houston guy is going to be playing. I'm getting a lot of Diggs and a lot of Dell when I run.
A smarter way to play it.
Well, so if it's popular, the name recognition of Diggs is probably going to entice a lot more people.
Diggs is a lot cheaper too, though. And we're looking to save.
Yeah, I think like this early stuff is saying play a lot of Nico, play a lot of Tank, but I could totally see getting a lot of Diggs.
Yeah, just go Diggs instead.
Why wouldn't we just play Jonathan Taylor?
Because we can't afford it.
Yeah, Taylor is 7,800. That's too expensive, and he's probably going to be relatively chalky too.
See, I just find a way to afford him.
We still need a tight end.
Yeah.
In this lineup, there's we'd have to take out Tyreek essentially.
Tight end, I'm getting basically all Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I could definitely see
that. With a little bit of Johnny Munt from Minnesota.
Ew.
Why?
The starting tight end for the Vikings.
Yeah, but he's not minimum salary.
It's not Josh Oliver?
He's 2,900.
Exactly. If I'm going to tank at tight end, at least let me tank at tight end and take my 0 with dignity.
I will say.
You would like to take my 0 with dignity, sir.
I'm playing.
I'm not a heathen.
To go with Diggs, can I convince anybody to take a yucky pick at Kylan Granson?
Well, I think I don't mind playing Jonnu in that same.
It's not bad in that scenario.
I just think if we're playing the popular plays, Jonnu I think is my favorite, like cheaper tight end.
Yeah.
Problem is, I don't think many people would go to Grant. So who do you want to put at tight end, Donnie?
Well, apparently Jonnu's going to be higher owned. So, and if that Miami game is going to be high owned anyway, like give me the quick tight end that they do want to use. There's
nobody behind him anyway.
Yeah, they keep rotating these tight ends because they're trying to find the guy that works with their offense.
So you don't believe in Durham Smythe, good sir?
I don't think anyone believes in Durham Smythe besides
How
Durham Smythe.
dare!
Well, he's 4,400.
4,400 for a flex, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, it could just be Brock Bowers. Like,
I like Brock Bowers. Like, I'm basically not gonna be able to help you guys at all at this line because I think so contrarian.
See, that's the range where, like, I'm looking at Michael Wilson,
Rashid Shaheed.
Shaheed, QJ.
Shaheed fits this. Man, I think it would be Shaheed. He had home run games last year. If we're going popularity,
makes sense.
Otherwise, it'd be Freiermuth.
Right, and I don't think Pat is going to exactly be a high-owned guy.
I don't like week one. I'll say that right off. Week one, I hate week one because everyone has all this time to like look at a lineup and look at what lineup might be best. And I really think I do. I already think contrarian enough as it is. And so I love it when I can think contrarian and fast. And my reasonings don't have to make sense. And people, basically, like less people get to tell me I'm wrong because there's less time to actually be wrong. And then we'll see if I'm right or not. At this point, basically what I'm saying is I think so many people hear so much noise that they can almost get off of good plays, or they can be pushed off of good plays because they think like, oh, well, the rest of the audience or the rest of the community is going with this. This must be a bad play. Is there anything else you guys wanted to do in terms of a theory, in terms of a player, anything else you want to get off your chest before because next time we meet, we'll be doing our actual breakdowns.
I'd like to work in a lineup with Jamar Chase in it because I think a lot of people are going to be skipping Chase.
See, and I'm actually getting a lot of Chase in my stuff. That's like the next game outside of like the Miami stuff. That's getting Chase, getting Isovas, getting.
I'd like to do like a
Chase Brown, even
I'd like to do like a Burrow and Chase stack if we can.
I'm not getting a lot of Burrow. I'm getting like
Chase
like
even
naked
playing?
Allen and.
We don't know this, though. That's the point.
Like, no, I don't think Chase is playing. He's still not practicing, I'm pretty sure.
I think he's going to play because he'd lose a lot of fucking money if he doesn't.
He'll play. He'll play.
Yeah.
He's going to want his money, but he'll play.
He will risk losing almost $2 million if he refuses to play against the Patriots, and
To
he
your
can't afford
point,
that.
Donnie, I won't be playing him, but I think to Evan's point, he might be lower owned because of it, and maybe this is a good stack.
Yeah. So I'd like to do a Burrow Chase stack. I just ran
as of Thursday, he still was not practicing.
Right. I'm not reading that much into it because he doesn't have enough leverage to sit out. He's not going to pull a Le'Veon Bell. But like I was saying though,
what makes you say that?
Because he's got 2 years left on his deal and he's not about to ruin his career the way Bell did.
This didn't ruin Jamar Chase's career by any means.
Well, in any case, I wouldn't mind doing a Burrow Chase lineup if you guys are down for that.
I like the energy. Let's see if we can build this contentious lineup.
Because I just ran my optimizer, which is mostly the same as last time. It's got Kamara, Ford at running backs, and then Smith and Jigba and Polk again as the other wide receivers. But we could break it down.
If we're getting so different, though, why don't we just play Thornton?
Well, we'll get to that in a moment here. So,
all right. So I got Burrow and Chase. What else were we starting with?
So I just wanted to start there, and my optimizer recommends Kamara and Ford as the running backs,
which makes sense. Ford's going to be a high-owned guy. I just don't see it, man. I do not see Ford having a great week.
Yeah, I'm not playing. I could see why Ford is a good play here, but I'm not doing it.
I don't expect him to take a lot of check down throws.
Can you convince me why Ford is a just good play that should be high-owned?
Volume. That's why people
volume in a high-paced game against Dallas.
Is there volume?
Yeah, there's no one behind him.
Can Dallas score? Can Cleveland score?
Dallas was a very high-paced offense last year.
Last year?
I have no questions that Dallas, they just paid CD. Like, everyone's going to be ready to go. Zeke's back in the building. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But regardless of all of that, I expect Ford to take some checkdowns from Watson, assuming Watson plays, because Dallas's run defense is going to give them a hard time.
But it's not an invalid point, man. When we say volume, it really is true. Chubb's expected out. Hines is already rolled out now. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back because I do think it was a hamstring injury. But Strong even popped up on the questionable. So they're looking at Foreman, who just signed. I know
Foreman training camp with him. He didn't just sign. He got cut and then got re-signed.
He got cut because they didn't need him, and then they gets re-signed because at the end of the 53-man roster, he's better.
Fair enough. Good clarification there, but my point is, I don't think Foreman's gonna steal any work.
Foreman is just change of pace, and I don't think that Pierre Strong is going to be worth a damn either.
But to that point, Donnie, if I was going to do anything, I'd just stay away from this game. But I do think Ford has volume.
Yeah, because his floor is at 8 at worst.
That's true.
That's fair.
But I'll admit, I don't see him with 30-point upside.
I don't.
But he can definitely get you 20 if he has to get multiple touchdowns.
But that's
now, I also think Javante's in the same range. I think Najee's in the same range.
That's how
I think Gus is in the same range.
Javonte could have 30-point upside. There's guys here that have a chance to have the upside, whereas I don't see Ford has that potential upside. I just think it's a bad play, but I don't know. It's going to be high.
Of all the guys in this range who, like I just said, if I just took those 5 guys, Najee, Javonte, Ford, Gus, and Chuba, I think all those guys are kind of in the same range with the same kind of outcomes. Ford's in the best game environment against Dallas.
But Donnie, that's the energy I wanted. I almost want us to get mad and say, I know a better way to build this. These are what people are doing. This is what's happening. This is what people are doing with their extra time. This is wrong. But I almost want us to build it out so we can see why is it wrong? Because then it makes you then question it or think about it in a different way and say, could I do this differently? Or wait a minute, maybe this is actually a good lineup. We did that a couple weeks ago with Jacoby Brissett. We did it as a joke, and then we actually ended up liking the lineup. So I do think that can happen as well.
My idea for this lineup is that I was hoping that we could I would name what my optimizer recommends for each position, and then we just break it down and see if we agree or disagree and go from there.
That's fair.
Right, what's your guy? What did it give you for a Burrow stack?
So Burrow Chase is the stack, and then Kamara Ford as the running backs, and I could see that I can understand Donnie's point completely because I mean I could see that being a defensive slugfest, but I think that's a good reason to play for because the upside is good and it's not like Cleveland has a great offense outside of the running backs anyway. So Dallas is known to choke sometimes.
See, I don't hate that. That's a good value running back right there. Like I'm not sure which ones is going to be the solid like value play yet. But like those all look like the mid 5K running back that you're going to want to play.
Yeah.
Barring something crazy happening like Denver coming out and saying McLaughlin is the starter, and then you got to play him down here at like 4,300. But like,
yeah. So any objections to Kamara Ford here?
No,
I'm fine with Ford. Kamara, I think that's a fine GPP play. Because I'm with you on what his volume should be this year. We know what the talent has been. And I can tell you as a Panthers fan, while my defense should not be any worse, I don't know how much better it got in the trenches.
We do have hard out though coming up. So if you could just give me the rest of the lineup, and then we'll discuss what we think about it.
We're good. We're good right now. But yes.
Okay, so there's those for running backs. And then outside of Chase for wide receiver, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Jalen Polk.
All right.
What do you think about Polk, Donnie? I know you're a Patriots fan.
I actually kind of like Jigba at 4,900. That's not a bad like mid value.
I don't have.
He actually steps into the number 2 role instead of Lockett, like they're saying.
My thing is, I don't got a problem with Polk, but now you're telling me that the Patriots are going to be pushed to score offensively if I have to play them. I don't exactly know that that's going to happen. I still think the Patriots defense is just as good as it was the start of last year. I don't see them having this dumbed down of being a bad defensive team now. All the offense has to do is not give too many shots.
I will say I would have liked Polk a lot more if Drake May was playing, but then not playing.
Jacoby's been shown that he wants to take shots this year. Like that seems to be Jacoby's the one who's going to be the shot taker. Drake May's trying to not make mistakes.
Do you see the Patriots playing from behind where they're going to have to take a shot at somebody like a Polk?
I mean, I expect them to play from behind, but I don't expect it to be like, oh my God, it's 42-14.
If I was taking a shot at a New England wide receiver, though, it'd be Thornton. I would just punt completely at the 3K level.
I'm kind of with you. I'd probably just go
Thornton is apparently he is their X receiver to start the season.
Okay. Do we want to just do Thornton then instead of Polk?
Yeah,
save the money. We'll see what we can work with from there.
900 is a lot of money too.
Yeah,
and you're basically cheering for the same kind of floor anyway.
So who was the tight end in the lineup? Let's assume it was Polk, and we're just switching that for the extra.
So then the tight end that my optimizer gave me is Kylan Granson. Kind of a yuck play, in my opinion, but
like it's basically playing Johnny Munt.
It's not bad.
It's a $2,900 tight end. You're hoping he catches a ball or two and a touchdown.
I would just rather play your guy those Sanders with the Panthers myself.
Like they're all sort of that same play. Again, it just.
But this is the idea.
I don't hate Granson just because that Houston Indy game is also going to be a good environment. So
I wanted to build belly.
I definitely like it more than Johnny Munt.
But that's the point of this show. I wanted to build belly aching teams that we were uncomfortable with all week. So then when we come back for our next show, we actually build the lineups that we believe in.
So then the flex is Tyreek, and then the defense is Chargers.
Which Tyreek makes a lot of sense.
I was about to say, we had a lot of money left.
So yeah, I mean, and then after we stick this in, then we can upgrade wherever we want at that point.
And you said Tyreek, right?
Yeah. So we got 1,100 to play with.
What do you think about going naked, Tyreek, though? Like, I don't know if that's smart because he's so high owned. And I feel
the game's so high owned, Logan. I mean, that's the thing.
That's my point, though. If that game is high owned, but you still play Tyreek Hill, but you don't play any other part of that game, I think that's a bad move.
You could get different elsewhere. You don't have to get different in the one game.
I'm with Donnie on this one. I think because of the high ownership, it doesn't hurt to eat a little chalk with Tyreek and then like skip the rest of the skill players.
Anybody you play in that game, you're eating chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. You know what I'm saying? If this lineup says Tyreek Hill gets 50 points, then Tua has to go there. And if it's already popular, I don't know if it helps us. But maybe you're right. Maybe it gives us a floor to at least min cash if this lineup just implodes. So
I would just upgrade on Ford, honestly.
How high do we want to go from Ford? Let's see.
I would go up to Walker.
I would go Walker.
I was about to say,
Aaron
like,
Jones.
if we're doing that,
I don't hate it.
Okay.
My favorite guy, honestly, is Connor.
Against Buffalo's defense, though?
Yeah, I know, but like he is gonna be their
Buffalo
guy.
lost a lot of defensive guys. Von Miller's not getting any better, and
Buffalo's
last year Von
defense
Miller
is
was
slowly
awful.
getting worse. Like Rashad White and Walker seem to be the chalk in that range. So I like Connor right in between them.
Let's be honest
see
about
Aaron
Buffalo.
Jones against the Giants. Mixon will probably pull a little bit of ownership against Indy too.
I'll be honest, I'm playing a lot of Chargers. No one's been able to convince me in years that Buffalo deserves all the credit they always get every year. I'm waiting for the bottom hasn't fallen off, but let's be honest, that Buffalo Bills team is disappointed every year for the last 5 years.
Okay, so
the thing is, Logan, you're saying disappointed. There only one team's going to win the Super Bowl, and all the Super Bowl hopefuls, 4 of them disappoint every year. If you're Super Bowl hopeful, 4 of you are going to disappoint.
True. I'm saying their expectations have never met their floor.
I mean, AFC Championship's pretty good. And when you lose to Mahomes, it's like, well, you lost to the best quarterback.
That is a saving grace. I will give you that. I will concede that point to you. That is a saving grace.
It's not like they're losing to Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud.
Losing to others, good people. Like, that's why I like having you guys on the show, having other, great people to build lines with. That's what makes it fun for me. So I totally get that point.
Okay, so what do we want to do at running back to upgrade from Ford? Is it Ken Walker? Is it Connor?
Like, we've been liking Walker, and I don't mind having, but then if we do Walker, then we have a legitimate thought that we could just play Geno instead of Burrow.
Yeah.
I don't want to play Geno.
Yeah, I wouldn't put. I mean, I don't see having to play Geno based off that change.
I would say based on the scoring outcome of most games, or if you look at the NFL spreads, I would say most people are not going to build this lineup. I just think most people will look at a Joe Burrow Chase stack, like we mentioned, with Chase's maybe holdout being a low owned, and that the game total just being a low owned. This is a lineup that could definitely win a GPP because if it hits, you're going to go way up. I think the ownership of this lineup would be severely low.
I like Walker a lot better than Connor, too. Are you guys okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I would go Connor, though, if I found out Zach Charbonnet was playing.
Oh, well, yeah, sure. Well, either way, though, they want Walker to be their bell cow.
Yeah, but see, that's the point. I just want to mention that as a segue. You guys should definitely have a theory or an idea, but you've got to build your lineup as close to Sunday morning as possible because the late breaking news will change a lot of things.
Oh yeah, everything is a great theory until you get your lineup set right before lock. That's true of everything.
Okay, so let's stick in Walker then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am.
And then honestly,
sorry, I didn't realize we were looking at your screen the whole time, Gov.
Oh yeah, no.
I got it built here too. I was letting Gov get his production credit here. Oh.
Yeah.
Honestly, with 500, I'm not mad at ever leaving 500 on the table. But I do think you could.
Amount. You could still anyone else could change this lineup
still
however they need.
Smith and Jigba.
Mm-hmm.
If you get an injury news, there's a lot you could do with the lineup still. I mean, hell, you could go Smith and Jigba, get up to Kirk or an Ingram, and then just say, let's move down on defense.
You could go 3 running backs. You can move Tyreek to the wide receiver, go and Jigba down and play one of those other 5K running backs, like a Ford or like a Chuba.
Well, Ford's a little too expensive. You'd have to move
but like Chuba or Gus or something like that.
Yeah,
you could
exactly. There's a lot you could do here with extra 500. I wouldn't do anything really unless it warrants moving down on defense. So
DFS is really a puzzle, and the problem is we get all these puzzle pieces, and people feel like they gotta fit in the fancier ones, or they gotta fit. You gotta have this guy. You gotta have this guy. It's all about at the end on Sunday night when we know the results. It's all about flipping over that and having a beautiful picture at the end. We don't need a beautiful picture now. We need all those pieces to fit in. Evan, you were going to say?
I was just thinking out loud here. Being that we do have 500 to play with, can I convince everybody, since now that we have some Seattle shares, can I convince an upgrade from Kylan Granson to Greg Dulcich?
I like the upside of Greg more.
I mean, I definitely don't mind upgrading off Granson, but it's Greg Dulcich the guy.
And it's not even like I just
wait. Did Parham sign with Denver?
Did he?
Whoa, did. Hold on.
He did.
What? You're telling me I'm getting a 6'7" tight end that could start?
Jim Harbaugh basically said he can't block. We don't need him. And they're going to use Will Dissly as their number 2 tight end.
I mean, Will Dissly is just a better tight end.
Dissly's with the Chargers now.
Yeah.
Will Dissly's just better than Donald Parham. Donald Parham still is rusty, and he's been rusty.
I knew Parham wasn't going to fit a Jim Harbaugh system. Parham might be the worst blocking tight end in the league. That wasn't going to work with a run-heavy guy. Gov, you did have a hard out tonight, and we also tonight. I'm so used to doing night shows, but we so we want to keep it. But this was basically an idea that you can take anything and make it better. So don't lock yourself into an idea. Don't say like, oh, I decided I'm going to play this guy. I got to play him. There's tons of ways to build. There's tons of ways to have fun. By the way, thanks for joining us and giving us all the great comments. I'm also a big believer in 1 week seasons, so I do appreciate that. Maybe there is some flattery there because I really do appreciate the products they do there as well. And what we do to try to do is give you the reasons why we build things. So that's very important to this show. And so we will always do that. We're going to come back. What is it? Tuesday we'll come back again?
Yep, we should be back Tuesday for our normal, what should start being a weekly review show.
Yeah. Yep.
And at some point an NBA talk at the end when we don't feel like it.
Or, Thursday surprise lineup or peak lineup, whatever. Whatever.
But we should always be back here Saturday after. I'm committed to Saturday afternoons.
As of right now, I'm committed to Saturday afternoons as well.
Everything like that works good. So we'll be back Saturday afternoons. Next week, we'll focus more on our actual week 1 lineup build, and we'll have our spread picks.
Yes, return to the spread.
Yes, the spread.
People like it. Backed by popular demand. It picks the Super Bowl captain each Super Bowl season too. So there's something to be said for being on the line. It's not just bragging rights. But with that being said, good night, guys. See, I did it again. I'll eventually get out of the mindset that we're at tonight. I guess I haven't drank any coffee yet, so I don't know if that makes a difference. But see you guys later. Take care. Have a good day.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Happy Labor Day. Peace out.
Oh, it is Labor Day, isn't it?